air quotes. There's a family dinner scene, and having been from a large family, still being from a large family, having had dinner many times, I can understand the kind of hectic scenario that can be, even if it's particularly quiet. So there's a conversation going on, and there's the older people asking how the kids are getting on. I just came home for Christmas. All people ask you is, how's it going? What things have happened recently that you have achieved? And you can see him kind of like trying not to boil over a little bit and going like, I'm good too. Just because, I don't play hurling doesn't mean that I'm terrible. Come on. Sorry, that's not the character, that's me. And then he bubbles over and he starts to bring his philosophy out early on, much like J.K. Simmons does later on. And I really like that they can have that kind of a philosophical debate without talking down to an audience in any way. And maybe Mike didn't buy it, but I found that I had to make my own decision on it if I was going to be able to interpret these characters, not even as likable, but just as whether or not they were right, or at least my kind of right. Is it okay to do anything in the pursuit of greatness? Is greatness worth more than, I don't know, happiness? And that might be a decision that everyone has to make for themselves, but I like that this movie tries to make you make it within 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what was really shit at doing music and character in a really evocative, provoking, and interesting way? Mm-hmm. Mozart in the Jungle, which is a show we may even have reviewed recently on Is It a Bicycle?
Yeah.
How about that for classical music, Mike?
That was far more fun than this movie.
What are you talking about? Are you not like riveted throughout this whole thing?
I thought the what's his name, the conductor, the new conductor in Mozart is just such an incredible prick. He's just a joy to watch.
Where's his Golden Globe, Mike? Where's his fucking Golden Globe?
Or his Emmy, for that matter.
Yeah.
By the way, is Miles Teller a good drummer? Because I can't really tell, because I don't know. He looked really good.
Seemed to be, didn't he?
It looked really good. Mm-hmm. So did Crossroads, despite his hand being a different colour to his other hand. But
I at no point did I in my head go, that doesn't look like him, or that's shit. You know what I mean? I just completely believed it the whole fucking way through.
Yeah, it was very believable looking. It was. Yeah. But, if you wanted to nitpick, I'm sure there are plenty of holes you could pick in it, but... I
don't know.
One or two maybe. But, no, it's it's a movie, it's not a documentary or something that has to be examined in detail. Is he really that player? It doesn't matter, he's very good at acting, and he's very good at, acting like he can play drums, whether you can or not. I'm sure he's got some ability, but I don't think it's obviously to that level,
Did you guys think he was likable, or was this an example of a movie where nobody has to be likable for you to be completely invested?
No one has to be likable, but I was kind of rooting for him,
Yeah.
Definitely. But at the same time, as the movie progressed, I was kind of rooting for J.K. Simmons as well. So
really,
yeah, I know, yeah. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know it. He turned me around. Yeah, I could see what he believed in and what he was trying to do from the outset. But I didn't necessarily agree with his methods.
He had set the bar so high for himself, I think, in what he was trying to achieve at school. And then when he met, J.K. Simmons, who was just this complete drill sergeant and expected so much more, the bar was raised again. And I thought a lot of the enjoyment and intensity in the film came from trying to see, waiting to find out if he would achieve the challenge he was presented with or not. And because he had so much antagonism, at home and at school, it was hard not to root for him. He was kind of an underdog, a fiercely talented underdog. But when unfair things are leveled at someone, as, caring humans, allegedly, you can't but rail against them. So that puts you on his side. I think as a character, I think he definitely does a few things that we probably wouldn't have done ourselves, or agreed with. So there is plenty scope to dislike him. But at the end of the day, you kind of want him to get on because it seems like, it's nearly impossible. You want him to succeed.
Yeah, I think that we could understand why, his motivations. You could understand his motivations, but you wouldn't necessarily have done the same thing with either character, actually.
What might be part of the reason why we were rooting for him and we were rooted in his journey was this is essentially a first person narrator. Like, we get his point of view. It's not like we have scenes that he's not in. That doesn't happen. We follow him around everywhere. Even sometimes we get to see J.K. Simmons' character not in school, almost like eavesdropping, with his life outside of teaching these people, which is something that Miles Teller, is really just a bystander for. But it's so interesting to see how that can inflect J.K. Simmons' character as well. Just things that might not necessarily be to do with our hero's journey or to do with his philosophy of teaching, but that do help you understand both J.K. Simmons, or perhaps be perplexed by him, as well as looking at Miles Teller and perhaps investigating his own father-son relationship with Paul Reiser.
Tell me,
Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to any jazz after watching this?
I did listen throughout to the credits because I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
I then forgot jazz existed again.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
I went back to just Catherine Perry, just like hanging out.
I stuck on Charlie Parker and Dave Bubrick and Miles Davis. And I had a playlist going for a couple of nights after that, actually.
Miles Davis is great to go to sleep to.
A bit of Coltrane.
God damn it!
Yeah.
I did like all the music they played through it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would happily listen to those songs again. I thought it was a good soundtrack, if you could call it that, even though it's built in the DNA of the movie.
Yeah. Whiplash. Dun, 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 dun,
Whiplash was the best song in it. In my opinion, Whiplash was the best song in it, and a great title for the movie because I had no fucking idea why it was called that.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. So
I wasn't a huge fan of the music myself. I have to say. No. And it's strange, because usually when you're watching a film that's so deeply rooted in the music aspect, if you're not entertained by the music, it's difficult to enjoy the film. But that didn't happen here because it was something else that was going on. It was the technical mastery of the craft and how it sounded. Given that he's playing the drums, like basically how it sounded was almost secondary because I think he was trying to go beyond what the human ear could hear at times. So didn't like the music, but really liked the film.
Okay, we anything else saying this, or do we want to mark it? Okay, Mark, give us a mark.
Really, really enjoyed it, Steve. I can't recommend this film enough. I think it takes a little bit of time to get going, but I still think it's an 8 for me.
John?
I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this movie again towards the end of the year. I would recommend this movie to anyone, and I wouldn't say that about like a lot of films. So I think I can only give it, because I thought it was almost perfect, a 9.
Mike?
Yeah, this is a dumb movie.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
Yeah, I think it's worth watching to see J.K. Simmons being an abusive bastard and probably winning some LGBT National Achievement Award for his use of abusive stereotypical insults during the movie. I'll give it a 5.
I was wondering where you're going with that one.
Yeah.
I love this, and it was It's the best movie I've seen this year.
It's only fucking January.
I know. I've seen a lot of movies this month. What do you call it? It has the best ending I've seen in a movie in I don't know how long.
Really strong ending.
Yeah, it's really strong. And this is a solid 9 from me. Yeah. So, that's Whiplash. Comes highly recommended by most of us. Yeah. No zombies in it, unfortunately for Mike, but anyway. Anyway, next up we've got our TV, which is 12 Monkeys. Who put this on the list?
I put this on the list, Steve.
Good man, Mark.
Because I was a huge fan of the movie with Brad Pitt and John McClane, or Bruce Willis as he's more commonly known. So this is a slight reboot, but not very much, of the story of that film, which is taken from a book by the same name, I believe. And the story essentially is we have our hero who's been sent back in time to try and prevent a global
epidemic,
an apocalypse, I guess, a pandemic that wipes out billions of Earth's population and leaves us struggling for survival. And a group of scientists in the future have figured out a way that possibly he can do that, and it all hinges on finding who is probably going to be his lady love interest, and that the story kind of goes from there as he tries to convince her, firstly, that he's from the future, and secondly, that she can help in preventing this catastrophe. Don't know if that was the best synopsis in the world, but I think that's more or less what it's about.
Yeah. So, what did we think? Sean?
The first 20 minutes of this are pretty much all plot and no character. So I wasn't invested for a long time, and then they put the guy from the future in a suit and sent him to a party. And I was like, yeah. Pretty much, it was just like, okay, time travel, gotcha. There's a new world. I love the song they played in the very first shot, by the way, when they were like 2054, and it was like, oh, dystopia, that's terrible. And then time travel, and it was all just kind of like go, and I almost like wasn't into it because I was like, Jesus, I don't really care because I just don't know why I should care that this guy does this thing. But then they let some people talk to each other for just a quick second while the mission was ongoing, and the action and the character development blended together much better from there on out. I was still on the fence about it because I don't know, I wasn't sure if I was willing to invest however long this series ran for. But I did end up watching the second episode, which I can talk to you guys about more if you want. But I want to hear what you guys thought.
Well, Amanda Schultz in it, who we know and love from Suits.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that Cassandra Fairley?
It is indeed, yeah. Yeah, I thought she was very good in it. I kind of like the show. It's a bit of a mix of Walking Dead and Z Nation, apocalypse type movies, and a bit of Dose of Time Cop. So
I'd like to think it's more like Fringe and The Walking Dead than Z Nation and the B Movie.
Or other stuff that I liked.
Like Terminator.
It's like Terminator a lot.
Yeah, Terminator, exactly. Yeah, it isn't far removed from it.
Except the Terminators are tiny. But you can be immune.
Yeah. But yeah, this was entertaining, and I too went ahead and watched episode 2, and I may watch episode 3. But episode 1, talk about it on its own. Yeah, it was good. It was engaging. There was a hook pretty early on, and I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say to it. It's kind of pretty much, it's like Fargo is stuck to the movie Fargo. It's pretty similar to the movie 12 Monkeys. So yeah, and I really enjoyed that. So
yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy 12 Monkeys when it first came out.
Oh,
excuse me. I thought the story was too big for the movie.
too complicated for you, Mike?
Yeah, it hurt my brain a bit. And for that reason, I kind of like this because they've got more time in the TV format to fuck around with ideas about time travel and stuff like that. Whereas in a 2-hour format or whatever, there's only so much you can do.
As always, Mike, you represent my thoughts far better than I ever could.
So, like, even in the first episode, they had a couple of comments about certain things that may or may not have happened at certain times, and you're kind of, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew they were there, but they verbalized them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The concepts. Like,
I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah.
you know, because like we've all seen a million time travel movies,
Yeah.
but I never get sick of them. I just love trying to bend my brain. Did this? No, that can't have. What? No.